2024 executive session of the Clarksville City Council. The first item on our agenda is a presentation from Hector Santos, Director of the Montgomery County Veteran Services Organization. Mr. Santos, we welcome you. This is your first briefing. We're a pretty harmless bunch when it comes to the VSO. So you've got a presentation for us, and you're recognized, sir.
Sir, Mayor Pitts, elected officials, executive, City of Clarksville. As I mentioned, my name is Hector Santos, United States Army veteran, 34 years in service. Okay, about a year ago, I was hired to bring the Veteran Service Organization to the future, the next step. That I had to tell you, it's been an interesting road. We changed our mission, primarily in passionate advocacy and education. It's a lot of veterans, spouses, survivors that don't know their benefits or what they're entitled to. So we're trying to reach out up to them. My promise was, and it still is, I will meet the veterans where they're at. That's why we dedicated 40 hours a month on outreach. If a veteran can come to us, we will go to their house. Okay, if they're in a stay home, we spend 6 hours there every month. Assisted living, the only thing you have to do is just call me. We also in Austin P, we in a DSAT, and somehow Vanderbilt snatched me up too. So I welcome the opportunity to talk to veterans. Our team is about 10 deep. We just hired the last one. Okay. Everybody in the team are BSOs. You will not work in my building unless you got the capability to become a BSO and replace any of us at the drop of the hat. Okay. So if I fall, Stacy will take over, or Kelly, my training officer. We are the largest office in the state of Tennessee. Right now, as of this morning, we are the standard for the state of Tennessee for multiple reasons. Okay, my time to read numbers. Currently, in a community breakdown, the VA invests $888 million in our community a year. And I will break down a little bit further that. Okay, mostly it's in compensation, over $600 million in compensation. However, when we compare to the rest of the state of Tennessee, on 95 counties, Shelby has 52,000 veterans. We are ahead of Shelby County, at least by 12%. Okay, we lead. The only thing that we don't lead is in the number of veterans. Shelby County got 52. We only got 34,046 at this time. Okay, and you think of how significant that is. They're in the 100, but they have a VA hospital and 4 clinics. That's $400 million that the VA invests on them. We don't have that. Okay, last year, in the average, we're seeing about 3,000 veterans a quarter. Currently have the capability to see 1,080 veterans a month. Okay, and that's without the outreach. Right now, we're expanding that to almost 1,400. Okay, in compensation, as you notice now, Shelby County with 52,000 veterans, they are at $383 million, and we with 34, we are at 617. That's because the quality of BSOs that we got in our office. Okay, if we smell blood in the water, we will stick with it. Okay, at some point we have to tell you that you need to do some homework. You need to see your PCM. You know, you take out some business and come back and see us, but we're with you every step of the way. Okay, as in last year, we increased pretty much in everything. Okay, for compensation, we went from 561 to 617. Okay, and the number of claims, we actually were down, but it was because a lot of people require information and additional steps to get into actually a good, viable claim. However, the average veteran in last year is getting about $18,000, which is an increase compared to Shelby County. They only get $7,000 per veteran when you look at the population. Now, in 4 years review, we have continued to increase. The number of veterans in this area, it continued to increase, and it will continue to increase. It's a great area to retire. Ask me. Don't let my accent fool you. I'm Tennessean. I got here in 1984, and this became home. Okay? It was no other place I would to retire. Now, if my accent is giving you hell, General Campbell said it takes 2 weeks to get used to my accent. So 2 weeks from now, you're going to remember this presentation, and you're going to get a veteran to my office. Now, let's talk about today. As in this morning, we had released our new website. If you look, I put in your desk my business cards and our information cards. It's a barcode in there. By scanning that code, it will take you to our website. In the past, it required a veteran to come to our office in person to request an appointment. Okay, it's 2024. Now the veteran can scan that code and request an appointment online. At that point, one of the representatives will contact them to ensure, what time works for them, and all the paperwork will be done before they ever arrive to the office. In our new website, if the veteran needs any type of information or resources, there are the links, the address, and the phone number for just about everything that they need. I'm very proud of it. I mean, it took us about a good 45 days of it. With the help of IT, all the code and script were written inside their office. Zero taxpayer dollars was paid on developing that website. Okay, and it's something that is, if you know who you're talking to, it's always somebody in the city or the county that can help you out and get there. Okay, not every BSO is created equal. That's why one of the top buttons in our website is reporting fraud. It's a lot of agencies taking advantage of veterans, charging $3,000 or a membership. And they don't have access to VA systems like we do. We don't have access to state systems like we do. Okay? Right now we have an agency that's coming to our office and bringing the veterans to our office for us to do the paperwork, and the moment they walk out of the office, they change the power of attorney to them so they get credit for it. We're fighting that. Okay? But we need your help. Okay? If a veteran needs help, guide it to us. If the veteran can come to us, we'll go to them. Okay? They have paid for those benefits already, blood, sweat, and tears. Their family have paid for their benefits, their sacrifice to support their loved ones out there. And even if some of them didn't come home, we still take care of the families. Survival benefit for spouses, Agent Orange, or the PAC that, burn pits. We have a young spouse that lost her husband to Agent Orange, cancer. She didn't know she was entitled to benefits. Well, after 6 months of fight, she got $250,000 in back pay. However, yes, it's a large number, but it's tragic that that amount of money could have helped her 20 years ago. Okay, you're going to help her out today. But 20 years ago, $2,000 a month or $3,000 will help her a lot more than that with that gap. Okay? And she broke her heart because the only thing she had to say was like, okay, she said thank you, but can somebody drive me to the bank? I got some bills to pay. I couldn't, but as I think, I know some people. And something that I'm very grateful is the city and the county that I live on, because everybody's willing to step up and help the brothers and sisters. Okay, couple programs, and this is the website and the link. I'm sorry for that. But every area to include, okay, you're a service member of the Army. You can click the Army emblem. It will take you to the DOD Army website so you can reminisce your past. If you're part of the Marine Corps, the same thing, but I'm sorry about that. Okay. That is one of the projects that we had developed and I promised to the county. Another project is server stockings. Now, this will get an example. I'm not asking for donations. I can't. It would be illegal for me. But I want you to do what we're doing. It was completely internal to the county. And it became, we went to the stay home and talked to veterans and hand them the stockings in person. And that's something that, if you want to help us out, come with us. Okay, because it was 7 of us there, and at any given time, only 4 of us can be passing stocking because it was emotional. It was a heavy load to take. However, I talked to a veteran that was in the Asia Valley flying helicopters for 401st, and he had a lot of stories, and I spent some time there and had to spend some time outside catching my breath. But a lot of the parents had nobody to talk to, and we were it that particular day. So, if you have any questions, I'm here. Okay, you can scan that code and actually request a briefing, an outreach, or just flat out say, Hector, call me. Okay, if you call our office, you might have to leave a voicemail. We receive about 200 phone calls a day. We're doing pretty good answer phones, but sometimes if I'm talking to a veteran, 4 or 5 calls will come in, and we have to reach out back to you. Okay? When I took over, Google reviews, organization was at 2.7 on stars. Right now, we're in 4.3. Okay? And it's not because what I have done, it's because my team and dedication to help the veterans in Montgomery County and Clarksville. Okay. So, sir, if you have any questions, I'm here.
Mr. Santos, thank you for the excellent presentation and for your service to our country, and especially for your continued service to our veterans. We do have a question, Councilperson Smith.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're
Thank you
recognized.
for such detailed report. Sounds like you did your homework, or you just know it. But anyway, I have one question. Can you tell me how much money does the surviving spouse receives when a service member is deceased or dies?
Okay, it falls in 2 categories. Okay, a service connection, okay, it could be about $1,500, or it could go all the way to $2,000 in a service connected. If a veteran's been 100% disabled, okay, dying for another condition, and he also been disabled for 10 years and married at least one, the spouse is entitled. Okay, now below that, if it's below 100%, we have to look at the disability. Something that's killing us is sometimes the death certificate will say sudden death or natural causes. Okay, I'm not a spring chicken, but what got me there? It was a heart condition. Okay, if it's a heart condition, we can go after it. Okay, so sometimes we have to go back to, let's work in that death certificate. Sometimes we can change them. That's why we reach out to every funeral home in this region. If they receive a veteran, they give a card to the spouse, and the thing they need to do is call us so we can tell them what do we need, okay, and how we're going to go about it. We do about 11 of those appointments a month. It's a 3-hour appointment. It's one of the most complex and one of the hardest appointments that we do. We are the only office that we actually have the tombstones and the markers in our office so the loved one can select what kind of markers they want for the loved ones. But you can tell that a lot of us that serve the nation know that price, especially now with the PAC that. A lot of us that survive combat, we're going to die anyway because of the exposure to burn pit. We're just walking, we didn't know about it yet, okay? And it's sad. But we need to get the veteran to us so we can start their benefits. If you know a spouse that has lost the lost one from the Vietnam era, we need to talk to them because we might be entitled to benefits. Okay, so that's something that a lot of things case by case, man. But get them to us. We'll work through them, and if they can come to us, we'll go to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you for being here. A quick question. Does your organization assist surviving family members if their veteran's desire was to be buried at Arlington?
To a degree. Okay, we had to start the application to Arlington. We had to understand that interment in Arlington, is a casket interment, will be anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks in a good scenario. Cremations in Arlington is 15 months because they're entitled to the full benefits. So we had to get that request in, and they qualify for that. So it's something that we can do. In addition, the veteran can select what cemetery they want to go to include Burial C. Okay, that's another one that we have that most people know about it, but Navy personnel, they want to do that. I cannot control when it's going to happen. We just have to get the remains to the port, and sometime during that fleet mission, it will return to sea.
So you can help somebody figure out how to go through the process?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you
Get
so
us
much.
to us, and we'll work it out.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass that along.
Thank you very much, Mr. Santos, for that for the excellent presentation. And we look forward to working with you for many more years in the future.
I got a package for you. I
Okay?
requested a retractable on the cars. I haven't. I will drop it on the other side.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, sir. Mr. Hilborn, next, you're up next. Give us the rundown on our temporary relocation to the Regional Planning Commission starting next week.
All right, good evening. As you're aware, we're redoing the outside of this building and we're redoing some of the inside as well. We're gonna try to get rid of these permanent roof leaks that we have. And, part of that involves tearing out the ceilings in here, so while we have all that tore out, we're gonna go ahead and repaint, replace the carpeting and whatnot. Jeff Tyndall's been gracious enough to allow us to use his, meeting facility in the basement of the Planning Commission at 329 Main Street. I'm assuming everybody is aware of where that is. There's some key points to remember about this move. We'll be moving over there tomorrow. City Court moved there today. City Court, their first meeting will be tomorrow morning. Next week, on Tuesday, on the 3rd at 11 o'clock, we're gonna have a dry run for the city council. We invite all of y'all to come if you'd like to come and familiarize yourself with the seating, the AV equipment and whatnot. Just so everybody's familiar with it before we, use it next Thursday evening. Let's see, we'll have, we'll have the council meeting, we'll have the regular session next week, we'll have the executive session on the 26th of September, and the regular session on, October 3rd. Those will all be planned over at the Planning Commission. Let's see, we've got a map. Let's see.
Is that taken at night?
Too, Lisa. Oh, there we go. So that shows the location of the Planning Commission in relation to where we're at now. If you'll see on this map here, we've got a location that shows where we'll have reserved parking for the council members. We'll enter the building from the rear of the building. We will not go through the Planning Commission itself, through the side door. We'll go to the back of the building. Austin P has also allowed us to use 3 of their lots that are there next to the building for the council meeting. Lot 29, which is the one directly at the corner of 4th and Main, will only be available on the 5th and the 26th. It will not be available on October 3rd. But they're allowing us to use those free of charge. You won't have to pay to use those. In using the AV equipment over there, it's not like our equipment here, where the mayor turns it on and off. It stays hot unless you turn it on and off, so need to be mindful of any leaving it on, any kind of background conversations or anything. Hopefully if we have no major issues over here, which we don't anticipate any, we should be back over here for executive session in October.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hilborn. Any questions? All right, Councilperson Smith has got it. Mr. Hilborn, not so fast.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So when we go over there, will our names be on the thing, or we're just sitting where we want?
No, your names will be at your place.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Hang on. Councilperson Holloman, you're recognized.
During the time that we're going to be at the Regional Planning Commission, when we come back, is there going to be any changes like in here?
Just to the color of the paint and the carpeting.
Okay,
That'll be it.
it's a little bit, yeah.
And we're gonna actually do some AV upgrades in here, but most of it, as far as what's being operated now, will stay the same. It'll just be in the back and how the systems are operated.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Anybody else?
Any other questions? All right, be there next week or be square, right? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hilborn. All right, we're ready for the Regional Planning Commission report, fresh from the traffic on Madison Street. Mr. Tyndall, the first item is ordinance 6/2024-25. Item A on your report, on your agenda.
Okay.
Mr. Tyndall, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, City Council, and we welcome you to our humble abode here the next couple months. If you need anything, of course, you just let us know. And been a pleasure working with the city to get it ready and up to snuff for all your standards and all your meetings coming up. You have 2 months worth of meetings here from the planning commission. We did have a meeting have to get delayed, and then we had a special call meeting. So this is what would have been July and August's zoning cases, but they're all going to be first readings. First one here is our case Z26 2024. It's the application of Jonathan Blick. The current zoning is RM1, and they're proposing to go to R3. If you remember, RM1 was changed about 4 months ago. It is a single-family or mobile home district on a medium-sized lot, and then R3 is a single-family duplex or triplex lot, depending on the size of the lots that would be divided. This property is 2 separate parcels, one on the north frontage of Eva Drive and the other at the intersection of Eva Drive and Britton Springs Road. This is in Council Ward number 3, and it is 0.8 acres combined. It's a vacant lot, and the other is an overgrown parcel with a structure on site. And the applicant's statement is to provide affordable home options in the 285 to 275 range. I do believe you've had a clarification email from the applicant where they believe they mistyped that. This is in our Lafayette Peters Mill Road planning area. There were 2 previous zoning cases on this. It was brought in as 2 separate parcels a year ago, from RM1 to R3 and RM1 to R4. They wanted to go to R3 on the smaller parcel and R4 on the front parcel. Both were disapproved at City Council. This is the parcel on Eva Drive with the structure on it, currently vacant. This is next door. This is near the area where the tornado damage was, so there are still some structures missing that haven't been replaced or repaired yet. This is looking back towards Britton Springs Road. The one parcel on Eva Drive is on your left, and the others, or sorry, on your right, and the other parcel is down on the left by the stop sign. This is also next door to Britton Springs Road and Eva Drive. That's one corner of the intersection, and then the other corner's here behind the telephone pole. Department comments and concerns. The street department said accesses to Eva Drive only, and the school system provided capacities of their system listed. I will note that in October or November's meeting, you will get updated school system capacities for this school system. They don't run those numbers till about the 40th or 45th day of the school year to allow children to move between schools if they need to and really settle into this is going to be our population for the year. Historical estimates would put this at 7 units, 2 to 3 on the one lot and 3 to 4 on the other lot. Staff does recommend approval. This request is consistent with the overall goals of the adopted comprehensive plan. The parcel shown is at the front of the part of a suburban neighborhood future land use. While the predominant use is moderate density single family and single family mobile homes, this request is along the fringe of the major roadway, Britton Springs Road, and replaces aging housing stock and increases housing options in a planning area without negatively affecting the character of the area. General recommendations for Lafayette Peters Mill planning area include promoting infill within neighborhoods with aging housing stock and maintaining a desirable mixture of housing types throughout the area. The Lafayette Peters Mill planning area received damage from the December 2023 tornado. No other environmental issues were identified as part of this request, and the Planning Commission also recommended approval.
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Tyndall. So if I remember correctly, there was concern that we would have to widen the main road and the setback, and there would have to be a greater setback for this. Am I getting this confused with another zoning request?
I'm not remembering
Not
that
Eva Drive, but
connectedness.
the
to Britton Springs.
Britton Springs, because as it gets busier, that was and it could be another one, and
I
that's,
believe that was further up the road, closer
Further
to
up the
Fort Campbell.
but would this still not be part of that conversation? The setback, requiring an additional setback because we plan to widen that road?
The setback on R3 would be either 20 or 40 feet if they build single family or multifamily, 20 if single family, 40 if the multifamily. So if it was the 40-foot front setback, that would more than accommodate any future road widening. The 20 could be a little tighter. But again, the street department said no driveways off Britton Springs Road for these properties.
Right, so then we put the house and that makes it even harder, right? So my other question is, we had talked about this area was one of the worst hit for the tornado and creating a plan, like similar to what we did for the Red River and kind of laying, laying a plan of how we're gonna redevelop this area instead of just piecemealing it like this, risking that we might put something in the way of a future road plan. Where are we at with that?
I'm glad you asked. We just finished an RFQ to redo the entire zoning code for the city and the county. We're negotiating with the prime consultant who we've chosen at this point, and I have an RFP sitting in my inbox, and that'll be the next thing we do. So we didn't want to bid out multiple things at a time, but that will be the next bid. This next month will be the Britton Springs Road planning area study. So it's in the works. It'll be this fiscal year, but we have not begun that yet.
So I would have a concern that we would, continue forward and, that was one of the conversations, like pausing until we have that plan. Otherwise, we're gonna plant things where we can't move them.
Fair enough.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilperson Shekinah, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This question, Mayor, may be for the street department of gas and water. But one of the previous residents that lived over there, Mr. Winters, mentioned that every time it rained a lot when he lived there, he had some sewer problems. The drainage backed up. So, Mayor, do we have any record of that with the street department or the gas and water department with the drainage area when it rains a lot over in that area?
Well, I can't say for sure, but we've got the two subject matter experts, and I'm looking at Mr. Riggins. Mr. Riggins, if you don't mind, come up and let Councilperson Shekinah ask the question, and then you can answer it.
Mr. Riggins, on this particular zoning case off of Britton Springs, a resident, he wrote a letter and he mentioned that when he lived over there, every time it rained, his sewer drainage area just backed up all the time. So your office, have you heard of anything about drainage issues when it rained with sewer from residents over in that area?
I personally to date have not heard of that, but I do have the address, and what I will do is I'll go back to the office first thing in the morning and check into our system, our customer account system to see, and I will send that to the clerk, Ms. Canfield, to have sent out to everyone.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tyndall, I'm not sure if you could answer this question, and let me preface this with, I'm not an engineer and I did not stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But in regard to the conversation, if we were to widen Britton Springs Road, wouldn't it be more likely that we would look to widen it on the other side of the road so that we soften the curves just a little bit there, both the sharp one and the one a little bit further down, especially because there's currently no development that has occurred on that side?
That's a good point, and you do have a lot of topography out here. Not to speak for the street department, but I believe they would try to do the least disruption as possible when doing a road project. So an undeveloped parcel across the street may be better to widen toward than on this side of the street, which has numerous parcels.
Well, and there's already, some of those parcels are already developed on this same side of the street. So,
Yes.
okay, thank you, sir.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tyndall, in the report for this rezoning, it says that the water source is Woodlawn Utility District, which would not be the city. So my question for that is this parcel on septic or sewer? And are there any requirements that if they're on septic that they would need to come within compliance and be on city sewer?
Yeah, I see that on page 3. You may be looking at, or my page 3.
Yes.
I believe that's a typo. It is not the Woodlawn Utility District up here.
Okay.
This is Clarksville Gas and Water.
Do you know if they're on septic or sewer there?
There is sewer out there.
Okay.
And to the comments earlier about sewage backups or anything, there were no comments provided they had no concerns from the gas and water department for this.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yes, I remember my question. If it stayed at RM1, which now you can build single homes, how many can they put there?
The Eva Drive parcel can't be divided any further. The Britton Springs Road could probably be divided into two.
Okay.
Okay, any other comment or question? We're now ready for item B, ordinance 7, 2024-25. Mr. Tindall, please, sir.
Okay, this is also an application by Jonathan Blick, our case Z27, 2024. And this is 0.16 acres off of Dodge Street. R3 requesting to go to R6. It is an extension of the R6. It fronts Dodge Street, approximately 190 feet from the Glen Street intersection in Council Ward number 6. It's currently a vacant lot. And the applicant's statement is to provide 2 affordable homes in the $225 price range. This is across the street. Other similar homes in the area. Sorry, this is the parcel in question here, the fenced off area. So it's 50 foot wide, so R3, they would not be able to divide it into 2 parcels and could only build a single family. That's why the request to go to R6 to build 2 houses. Department comments and concerns. Street department indicated sidewalk would be required per the R6 standards, and there are school system comments about their capacities at the schools listed. Historical estimates would put this at 2 units. This is in the downtown urban core area of the comprehensive plan. Staff does recommend approval. The request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. In the downtown urban core, it is encouraged to support moderate and higher density residential development and infill. The R6 single-family district is an appropriate zoning classification for the urban neighborhood and is in character with the development pattern for the area. No environmental issues were identified as part of this request. The Planning Commission also recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Tindall. Any comment or question? Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Ms. Tindall. Thank you, Mayor. Were there any objections from any of the citizens that live in that area?
I do not believe we had anyone at the meeting, and I don't see any emails attached to this
And you said that the sidewalks are required.
in
So
front
that
of the
means they're gonna be
property.
built.
They'll be built when the homes are built.
Okay, and, that's good. I'm for that. But, what about all of the other, homes that have been built in that area and no sidewalks were put there, even though sidewalks were required? Over in that area in Ward 6. So what about
We require
those?
sidewalk under new construction
Yeah, they were a
for
lot of new
R3 or
constructions.
R6.
Yeah,
If it was just a single-family home back in the day on that existing road, it would not have been
not on this
subject to putting new sidewalk in.
not on this road, Mr. Tindall, over in that area, period.
Yeah,
In Ward 6, let's say over on 9th Street, we've built many homes over there on 9th Street, probably about, I'll say about 6, and no sidewalks. We built them on 4th Street, just recently. There's nothing old, this new, no sidewalks. Over on, we got Ford, no sidewalks. But all of these new homes have been built, and I'm just trying to make a point here, that we build the new structures and they're required to build sidewalks, but no sidewalks have, come about. Have not been established. So, do you know why this is not happening?
Yeah, I can answer that question. The reason why is because those are probably existing lots of record where they're just replacing a house or building one house. If it's R6 or R3 going forward, not since several months ago, and it's subdivided like they're gonna do here, then sidewalk would be required. If it's just a lot of record and they're replacing a house or a duplex, it does not trigger the need for the sidewalk at that time. So I
But
think that's the difference
these were
there.
not all replaceable homes. These were new homes built. And I heard this in the meeting that sidewalks were required. However, no sidewalks have been built because I had mentioned this before. I just want to,
If you
put
want to
that
give me the
forward.
addresses, I'll look into it with the code department, but my guess is it's individual homes, but we'll be happy to look at them.
Okay, thank you.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
I'd just like to make a comment that we did have a sidewalk ordinance proposed that would have closed up these loops that we voted against on this floor. So here we are today. Thank you.
Councilperson Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. The sidewalk proposal that she brought, well, whoever brought forth, had nothing to do with, older neighborhoods. It was all about new, establishing sidewalks for new residents only. And I made that clear, that there was nothing in there to take care of the older neighborhoods. Thank you.
Councilperson McLaughlin on the rezoning.
Trying to be respectful, the previous speaker is incorrect. It did address when zone changes happened and new homes were built like R6 that it would have been required.
Okay, Mr. Tyndall, we're now ready for item C, ordinance 8, 2024-25.
This is Planning Commission Case Z 28, 2024, application of Michael Booth. This is 1.79 acres, currently zoned R2 Single Family Residential and requesting to go to R6 Single Family Residential District. It is not an extension of R6. The property fronts Dotsonville Road, approximately 275 feet south of Arrowfield Road, Dotsonville Road intersection. This is in Council Ward Number 2. It's a large lot with a single-family home on it, and the applicant's statement is to subdivide the property for affordable housing, making the best use of the land. It's important to note that this is in the Woodlawn, Dotsonville planning area. This is right on the edge of the city limits. You can kind of make out that red dashed line there at this property. This is the property in question with the home on it and the driveway. This is Dotsonville Road looking back towards Dover Road. And there's a little closer view of the home that's existing on the property. And this is looking back from Arrowfield towards the property where the fence ends on the right side, or about where that street sign is, the yellow one. That's where the other property begins. Department comments or concerns. This one is in the Woodlawn Utility District, and they had no concerns listed at this time. The street department said only one access to Dotsonville Road would be permitted and must follow access ordinance. Sidewalk would be required per R6 standards. No other department comments and concerns, and the school system listed their capacities of the schools listed. Historical estimates would put it around 7 units. Kind of hard to figure this one out, whether or not the home is staying. If the home does go, it'll be higher, but we think they want to do frontage lots or something like that. They'll have to figure out some sort of road system to access that with the access ordinance from the street department. Staff recommends disapproval. This request is not consistent with the overall objectives of the comprehensive plan. The proposed R6 single-family zoning classification is out of character with the development pattern in the area. The current R2 residential district is the correct zoning classification for the property and aligns with the access ordinance, which would permit the division of the property into 2 lots and would be required to share a single driveway. No adverse environmental issues were identified. The Planning Commission also recommended disapproval.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Well, I already have my button pushed, but you answered my question. So under the current zoning classification, they would only be permitted to have 2 homes there. And that's if the current one is removed, or?
You could easily divide, it's a larger lot, 1.79 acres. You could easily divide another R2 lot and share the driveway. If for some reason they got additional lots, if for some reason they remove that house, if they got some additional driveways, it has enough frontage for 4 or 5 houses, but the access ordinance says because that's a collector road there, that they'd only have the 1 access.
I understand that's on the edge of the county. They may have an opportunity to get access on the county side. Is that an option through that vacant parcel?
If for some reason the subdivision from Arrowfield came in, if that parcel below it was developed or could develop in the future and it's currently zoned ag, and then somehow hooked back into this property, yes, it could get alternative access, but there's a lot of moving pieces there.
Yeah, I'm just, asking the questions I always ask. All right, thank you.
All right, we're now ready for item D, ordinance 13, 2024-25. Mr. Tyndall, please, sir.
Okay, this jumps to August cases at the Planning Commission. This application is from Timothy Baggett. This is 4.52 acres, currently zoned R2 and requesting to go to R4 multifamily residential district. It is an extension of the R4 in the area. It's located at the northeast corner of Crossland Avenue and Kelly Lane, as well as Golf Club Lane and Kelly Lane intersections. It fronts on both, or all three roads, I should say. It's a tract of land with a single-family structure on site, rolling hills, and a mature stand of trees. This is in Council Ward number 6. This is in the Hilldale planning area, and the applicant's statement is to provide for a multifamily development. This is from Kelly Lane on the one side, looking to Kelly Lane across Crossland Avenue. Properties on the right. That's a recently finished R6 development on the left. This is the property as you pass it on Crossland Avenue. This is the rear of the property from Kelly Lane and Golf Club Lane looking back up. Similar view. And also from Golf Club Lane looking back up, there's Kelly Lane on the right, Golf Club on the left, and Golf Club Lane. Oh, we have another one. It was easy to take pictures there. Department comments or concerns. The street department said it's a known drainage issue in the area. They are here to respond to this if there's any additional questions. What they mean by that is this is a localized low area. The development of this parcel may actually assist in helping with some of the drainage by directing it toward different places or detaining it on this property. The low area is actually on the other side of Kelly Lane on a vacant property. There were no other department comments or concerns, and you can see this school system comments about their schools listed. This is in an urban neighborhood future land use, and again in the Hilldale planning area. The staff recommends approval. The request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted comprehensive plan. The future land use opinion map indicates that this property should be part of an urban neighborhood, and it is the intent of the future land use to include a wide range of housing options with higher densities along major roadways and transit service, which this area has. The Hilldale planning area recommends including and promoting multifamily residential in proximity to major roadways such as Crossland Avenue. It is also important to have transit and commercial near multifamily developments, both are available. The R4 multifamily residential request is an extension of the R4 and is in character with the surrounding development pattern. And the street department has indicated that a known drainage issue exists in the area. However, in discussions with street department engineering staff, it has been stated that the subject property up for rezoning should be able to be developed and will be under further review with any future development to accommodate the drainage issue in the immediate area. The Planning Commission also recommended approval.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So Mr. Tyndall, pertaining to the drainage, if this is rezoned for the R4, I'll assume it would be similar to some other situations where the developer and the street department will get together and talk about how to mitigate water so that it doesn't encroach on the new development and also adversely affect the surrounding structures. Is that correct?
Yes, and due to the size of this parcel and the amount of units, this would go forth to the Planning Commission with a public hearing if needed. But one of the things that would be reviewed by the street department is the drainage calculations and the drainage structure of any future development of this site.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the applicant or the developer would have to get a grading permit, and drainage would be a major part of that. Councilperson Shekina, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I was wondering, could we hear from the street department about, since they know that this is a draining issue, and we've heard it before on the council floor where residents talk about how someone came in and they got a permit to build, they build now, not only are they flooding, but their neighbors are flooding, so how are we gonna fix that problem before it starts?
We absolutely can without objection. Mr. Smith, you have a little experience with this?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
Late this year. So as stated by Mr. Tyndall, when you guys see this at rezoning, we see it when the site plan comes together. And at that time, our comments will be that we need a 100-year elevation established for this and show that the water detains on site, anything that bleeds across. There's a wetland right across the street that picks up water. There's some conveyance across Crossland. In the event that that comes up to a certain level, it does carry over to a natural basin across the street. But we'd prefer to keep that water on site. So that's what they'd have to do to satisfy us. Show that whatever they were going to develop in impermeable would be set up in a basin on site.
Okay, so they have to keep the water on site.
Yeah, the preponderance of the water would need to stay on site. The engineers that developed that would stamp and certify that that was going to occur. The homes in question would have FEMA 100-year flood certificates to show that the finished floor of the home and the HVAC equipment were built above a certain level. Now, what we're going to do, we'll talk kind of daylight at drainage presentation in the future, but that doesn't mean that water won't hold in some of these areas that are designated as drainage easements within this lot. So it may look to some of the residents that, you know, the area is flooding. It's not. It's actually designed to do that and hold water in certain areas. But that's been a common trend, that people feel like they're flooding it, that there's a concern that their structure might be compromised.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilperson Smith, you're recognized for.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tyndall, can you take your film back to where those new homes were built over there on Crossing Avenue and Kelly Lane? Those new homes, and they were shown. Okay. Good. Sidewalks are there in that area. That's good. And there were no oppositions from the people that live over there, correct?
Correct. We did not receive any emails and no one spoke at the planning commission on this case.
And as I said to the previous speaker who spoke that said I was wrong, let me say this. When I asked the person who was the sponsor of the sidewalks proposal, I asked her, where there's anything in there for older neighborhoods, and it was not. Now, I heard her say there was something to prevent it, of not putting sidewalks down, but I didn't see anything in specific about older neighborhoods, and if I'm wrong, it's too late anyway. But we still need to make sure, regardless, that sidewalks are put in Ward 6. Over in my area where I live, there is not any. Not any. From Nash Street to 4th Street, College Street, you got it on the front of College Street, but nothing back in that area, in the Red River area. And so, this is something that is a concern of my constituents, and we're trying to make sure that we're not left out and that we get put into this. So I didn't see anything in her ordinance that said particularly anything about older neighborhoods. I didn't see the word older neighborhoods. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Okay, let's get on with the program. Item E, ordinance 14, 2024-25. Mr. Tyndall.
This is Planning Commission Case Z30, 2024. Application of Brianna Davis. Agent is Ligon Home Builders. This is 0.53 acres. Currently zoned R1, single-family residential district, requesting to go to R6, single-family residential district. The property fronts Peachers Mill Road, approximately 75 feet south of Peachers Mill and Carter Road intersection. There's currently a small single-family lot with a single-family home on site and some matured trees. The applicant's statement is the lot shape makes it difficult to match existing multifamily to provide affordable housing, and the R6 will allow us for 2 single-family lots. Of note, and I want to show you this, you can see how the surrounding area there is all in orange. It's all R4. This little parcel here is only about 60 feet wide, 150 or so feet long. It doesn't meet the minimum size to be zoned R4, even though there's R4 in the area. It would not be a compliant lot, so we cannot press forward with a rezoning of the property because it would not meet any current standards. Best scenario for this property in the past would have been one of the developments to the north or the south to have bought it out at a time and made their development slightly larger. But as you remember, R6 and R4 densities are relatively similar, and the applicant is asking for 2 single-family homes instead of 1 to at least have some use of the property. There really is not another zone. Even R3 would only give them 2 lots on this property. And here it is right across the street from Carter Lane. There's the existing house currently boarded up. You can see the driveway there. That will be the existing driveway that the two homes will use. They will share the driveway between them. And looking a little further south on Peters Mill. Department comments and concerns. The street department said one shared driveway for both lots. And there were no other department comments or concerns. The school system provided their capacities of the schools listed. Historical estimates would put this only at 2 units due to the frontage. This is in the Peters Mill Lafayette planning area and is in a mixed residential neighborhood, meaning mix of uses. Staff recommends approval. This request is consistent with the overall objectives of the comprehensive plan. The Lafayette Peters Mill planning area general recommendation states that we should promote infill within neighborhoods containing aging housing stock, as well as maintain a desirable mix of affordable housing types throughout the region. The future land use opinion map indicates that this property should be part of a mixed residential neighborhood, and it is the intent of the future land use to accommodate diversity in housing needs and include single-family residential detached, homes on smaller lots along major roadways, transit routes, and near commercial areas. The R6 zoning request is in proximity to residential supportive uses such as mass transit and retail, and no adverse environmental issues have been identified as part of this request. The Planning Commission also recommends approval.
Councilperson Streetman.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tyndall, you know I spoke on this, or spoke against this zoning request at the Regional Planning Commission meeting because I understand perfectly that it does not fit the size requirement for it to be R4. But one thing I would like to say is I definitely hope that's something we look at in the upcoming zoning rewrite that we're going to be doing, because for me, I realize nothing else fits to be able to rezone it, but I still just, I cannot wrap my mind around making that an R6 when I look at the map and see nothing else R6 on there, and knowing that once we introduce it, it's going to be in the area. And I know just on the earlier case for 08/20/24/25, one of the reasons listed against it was that, it's out of character with the surrounding development pattern. And then we're still putting an R6 right there. I get that R4 and similar density, but I just can't support that. And like I said, I just wanted to put that request back out there that we definitely consider that in the rewrite.
We will.
Councilperson Marquis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tyndall, due to the size of this lot and the zoning requirements, I guess if it's not R6, what else can they do with it right now?
An R4 lot needs to be 90 feet wide, and as I mentioned, they're around 62 feet wide, so that's why they couldn't have that. Even though at a half an acre, they could legally try to put 8 units on there. So, they are giving up several units going to R6 at this time. I can't speak to what we would do in a future zoning code update, but we have to be able to take infill opportunities like this when there's R4 completely surrounding it into account. So right now, R3 would allow them to do a duplex or 2 single-family units, R6, 2 single-family units, or leave it like it is and it's really not even a compliant R1 lot. It is grandfathered because that would also require 90 feet wide for R1. So
Would under the R1, would they, I guess, request a variance or an exception to put like a duplex on it or something then, if they can't, or would they just reapply for another different zoning?
you cannot apply, you can't go to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a variance to get additional units. It has to be zoned appropriately, only for topography or lot shape or different instances of getting variances.
Okay, thank you.
Councilperson Shekinah, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Tyndall, for the utilities comments, one comment was no gravity sewer available. Does that mean that this development will be on septic? Is that what that means?
No, it just means they'll either have to extend the gravity sewer, which may be nearby, or do a force main to a gravity sewer in an area.
Okay.
So it's a word to the developer that there are some improvements that will be needed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, any other comment or questions? Seeing none, let's go on to item G, ordinance 16, 2024-25. Mr. Tyndall. Oh, I'm sorry. We skipped one, excuse me. Got in a hurry. Item F, ordinance 15, 2024-25. Mr.
right.
Tindall.
This is Planning Commission case Z31, 2024, application of Chris Blackwell, application of William Tierney. Agent is Chris Blackwell. This is 2.92 acres. It's two parcels together. Currently zoned R1 and requesting to go to R4. It is an extension of R4, and the parcel fronts Pembroke Road, 950 feet north of Tiny Town Road and Pembroke Road intersection. It's currently two single-family lots with one home on each of the lots and several mature trees on the property. This is in Council Ward number 1. It is in the North Clarksville planning area. And the applicant's statement is to develop a small-scale condominium development with detached housing units. Just a little history on this. The applicant originally came in with R5, but R5 requires townhomes. So we said you can only do R4 for the kind of units you want to do. They want to do individually leased small units on the property in a management situation instead of individually owned. And there's the zoning in the area. You can see you have C2 to the south that's undeveloped. That could allow for multifamily, and you do have the R4 there as well. This is just outside the airport planning zone. That's why you'll see all that darker M1, M2 right across the street. Nothing can be built in those areas that is inhabited, so it's a lot of warehousing, lay down yards, mini storage, that kind of stuff. This is looking back toward Tiny Town Road. The properties on your left and on your right are some industrial uses. There's one of the homes and the other home on the smaller parcel. This is across the street. There's two similar metal buildings doing some kind of warehousing or industrial use. Again, on this one, it says no gravity sewer is available. They'll have to extend it or do a force main in the area. Sidewalks will be required during the development of this site per the street department. And there were no other department comments or concerns, and the school system listed their capacities of the schools there. Historical estimates would put this at 35 units. Again, it's in the North Clarksville planning area, and it's a future land use map is mixed residential neighborhood. Staff does recommend approval. This request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. The North Clarksville planning area and general land use goals recommend a continued mixture of housing types that are compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods and in close proximity to existing jobs and commercial nodes. The RPC staff will also seek to include amenities within the new development as indicated in the general recommendations in the North Clarksville planning area. The future land use opinion map indicates that this property should be part of a mixed residential neighborhood, and it is the intent of the future land use to accommodate a diversity in housing needs, to include workforce and affordable housing along major roads and commercial areas. No adverse environmental issues were identified. The Planning Commission also recommended approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tindall. To the grandson of the former mayor of Pretty Prairie, Kansas, Councilperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tindall, would you mind going back? I'm sorry, I lost track of the number of slides that I was hoping that you would go back to, but it's the one, I will tell you. There it is. All right.
I can go closer if you
No,
want.
no, no,
Okay.
no. That's the one that I want to
Okay.
see. I'm sure it will come as no surprise to anybody in this room that I'm running out of ways to say the same thing. But this picture illustrates exactly what I've been saying for 3 years now. How many more tiny little squares are we going to try to fit on this map before we say enough is enough? Apparently the answer is at least 35 more in that little shaded area. I'm going to ask you all to please keep this picture in mind, not only next week, but going forward as we look at future development to the east end of Tiny Town. Thank you.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Similar concerns in the fact that it doesn't look like there is room to widen this road in the future because of the setbacks of the existing houses unless you take their front yards, and then we're gonna add another 94 people with potentially 94 more cars coming in and out of there. And it's the first R4 on Pembroke Road. The rest has access from other roads and also a Tiny Town Road. So that would definitely put that traffic on Pembroke Road, and then that would start precedent if those industrial uses across the street were to sell. We'd already have precedent to have R4 on Pembroke Road, so those are my concerns on that. Thank you.
All right, we're now ready for item G. Am I got that right? Okay, item G, ordinance 16, 2024-25. Mr. Tyndall.
This is Planning Commission Case Z32, 2024, application of Reed Orlando Rudolph, 0.78 acres. Currently zoned AG agricultural and requesting to go to R5 residential district. It is an extension of the R5 to the north. The parcel fronts the east frontage of North Whitfield Road, approximately 250 feet north of Needmore Road intersection. It's a single-family residential lot with a single-family home on site. This is in Council Ward number 9. This is also in the St. Bethlehem planning area. It's applicant's statement is to develop a small multifamily development. And you can see the R5 to the north. This is looking back towards Rhonda, as everyone affectionately calls her, and there's the home there on the left. This is the recently completed job by the city, and I think it's a very nice job with the full sidewalk on the one side, the double width toward the school. Glen Ellen is just off to your right, and then the property here is across the street on the left. Again, from the center looking left with that house. This is the neighboring house to the south, and the only other house between this and the roundabout. That other parcel is that little L-shaped ag parcel below it. And then this is that piece in the middle there. Department comments and concerns. The Gas and Water Department said off-site sewer lift station upgrades will be required and no gravity sewer was available. And no other department comments or concerns were listed. The school system did mention ADA compliant pedestrian access, which we've encouraged them to talk to the street department about the final striping of North Whitfield and how that would be to get a crosswalk at an appropriate location. I tried to explain to the school system that's still the base coat out there, and that's not the final striping until they get that completed. And you can also see the school system comments about their capacities. Historical estimate would put this at 9 units. This is in the suburban neighborhood future land use map, again in the St. Bethlehem planning area. Staff does recommend approval. The request is consistent with the overall goals of the comprehensive plan. The St. Bethlehem planning area and general land use goals recommend we promote multifamily or attached single family in close proximity to major roads, existing jobs, and commercial nodes. The future land use opinion map indicates that this property should be part of a suburban neighborhood and it is appropriate to include limited single-family attached housing along major transportation corridors. The request is adjacent to the existing elementary school and is an extension of the R5 residential district. The comprehensive plan and complete neighborhood design recommends higher densities near schools and commercial nodes. No adverse environmental issues have been identified as part of this request. It is also important to note that staff has discouraged submittal of zone changes or development requests in proximity to this intersection until the completion of the roadway construction project is near completion. And I believe the landowners to the north have kindly complied during this construction time. The Planning Commission also recommended approval.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. Tyndall, I guess I would say that I understand the plan used to increase density along this road, but we're still struggling with need more. And I know Rhonda is completed, but traffic is still backing up. So I have a concern, like, what is the plan? Do we have a plan, or it might be you, or it might be the street department, to manage the backup on Needmore? I mean, it's not, since we opened Rhonda, it has not gotten better. And now we want to continue to add more units to a road that is just not managing the traffic.
Let me first of all say this project is a long way from completion. It looks complete because it's got a pretty nice asphalt surface on it. but it is a long way from completion. And I want to make a point to the public. Quit joyriding around that roundabout. You're creating a dangerous situation, and it is an active construction zone. You're going to get somebody hurt, including yourself. So anyway, sorry, had to throw that commercial in there.
Yeah, and we agree, Mayor, and once the improvements from Needmore to 101st get completed, I believe this area will flow a lot better.
And what's the timeline for that?
About a year.
About a year. So, I mean, it's almost why add more density while we're completing that year. I just have that concern. And the residents have that concern as well.
They've been very patient. Councilperson Smith, you recognize.
Mayor, just to add my 2 cents about the roundabout, I was out there yesterday evening, and I would like to say that it had cleared the traffic out very well. I think it was very well constructed, and as the mayor said, if you're out there playing and just going around and around, yeah, you're gonna hold up traffic. But when I was out there, the traffic was just gone. I mean, I went out there in the evening just to investigate it myself because I've heard all this negativity coming from so many of us, but it had nothing to do with the way it was built. I think it's built nice. Done traveled a lot of roundabouts around this the world, doing a lot of vacationing. But I think that it's really nice, and I saw the traffic cleared out quickly. People were driving safely, following the rules. But when you follow the rules, it's going to clear it out. But if you don't, you can look for a backup of traffic. Thank you.
Okay, we're now ready for item H, Resolution 15, 2024-25. Mr. Tindall.
Okay. On the heels of, we did ask you to pass a resolution last month, and we appreciate you clarifying the rules for abandonments. So we do have 3 abandonments for you today. The first one is, they're a little out of order from our order, but that's fine. AB 2, 2024, this is an abandonment on Bogard Lane, which is between 2nd Street there. It's an unimproved alley. It does go between 2 parcels and a portion of another. There's a house on the other side where we cannot find any historical records that alley did go through there. That house was built in 1944. So this is an alley that has long since been ignored or abandoned. The Planning Commission does recommend abandonment of this alley on Bogard Lane with the retention of utility easements as necessary. These will require public hearings.
Comment or question? We're now ready for Resolution 16, 2024-25. Mr. Tindall.
This is abandonment AB 3, 2024. This is a right-of-way abandonment near Trough Springs Road through the Mary's Garden Center, if you are familiar with that site. This is an old remnant left over from when 76 was over in that area before the state built it. Then they gave it to the city. It has long since been used by these property owners. But we did abandon a portion of this about 6 years ago on the Kitty Lane portion. And this is just an opportunity to clean up the rest of it for the 2 property owners you can see listed. So it'll be returned to their properties. Planning Commission does recommend abandonment with the retention of utility easements as needed.
Mr. Tindall, just a few years ago, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, there was some concern about access to where the old Kennedy or the Stewart alignment shop or garage was. It's no longer there.
Correct.
Would this have an impact on that parcel?
The property owners have since then realigned their properties. This would not touch that property any longer, so it does not help serve a purpose of providing access to the back of that property.
It was a pretty contentious conversation between
Still
property
is.
owners.
Still is. We're working through it.
Okay. All right. Let's
But
move
no,
on.
we would not have recommended abandonment if it had the opportunity to assist that.
Okay. All right. Resolution 17, 2024-25.
And this is the final abandonment here. This is our abandonment AB 1, 2024. It's a right-of-way alley near 7th Street. Again, it's an unimproved alley, and this alley was actually partially abandoned back in the late 90s, going down it, so it actually made a 90-degree turn and went down toward Madison Street. The portion on those parcels was abandoned in the 90s, but they didn't abandon the whole thing. This is something we are, as a planning commission, looking further in. When people want to abandon a portion of it, we're going to start looking at abandoning all of it. No sense doing it, 20 years apart and in two different sections. This had several structures on it. It has recently been cleared. They are zoned CBD. They have not come back in with a site plan yet. They were waiting for this abandonment to take place. And again, the Planning Commission recommends abandonment with the retention of easements as necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Tindall. Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Mr. Tindall, I just have a overarching question, about the sustainability of our community and abandoning property that perhaps we could hold because we have such a lack of green space in the community. We're still putting in rooftops and no trees and rooftops and no playgrounds. These are like little micro areas that if we continue to hold, I know that they're not on the tax rolls, et cetera, but in just the thoughts of keeping small plots of green space, why would we not do that?
This is only 16 feet wide, and I think the way it fractures the properties around there, I would recommend this be abandoned. We do take that into account when there's other significant abandonments, but a lot of times you're dealing with road stubs that maybe were never completed or downtown alleys that were never completed. So I see your point, but I also see the point of I like to assemble parcels back as whole parcels that can do something with them. So.
Plant a few trees.
All right, any other comment or questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Tindall.
Thank you.
We're now ready for the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please read the consent agenda.
All items in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the council may request that an item be removed for separate consideration under the appropriate committee report. Ordinance 01, 2024-25, second reading. An ordinance amending the operating budgets for fiscal year 2025 for governmental funds for ordinance 106, 2023-24 to carry forward prior year appropriations and amend for newly identified items. Ordinance 03, 2024-25, second reading. An ordinance accepting the donation of certain real property from Holly Point LLC to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of a sewer pump station. Ordinance 04, 2024-25, second reading. An ordinance accepting the donation of certain real property from James Durrett and Mary Durrett to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of a sewer pump station. Ordinance 05, 2024-25, second reading. An ordinance approving the travel policy for the city of Clarksville and all its departments and entities. Resolution 14, 2024-25, a resolution approving appointments to the Arts and Heritage Council, the Parking Commission, the Public Building Authority, and the Senior Board. Resolution 18, 2024-25, a resolution approving a certificate of compliance for sale of wine at Tennessee Butcher Company, LLC, doing business as New York Butcher Shop, located at 2720 Madison Street in Clarksville, and the adoption of minutes from August 1st, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any comment or question regarding the consent agenda? I will point out that on item D, which is the ordinance 5, 2024-25, on second reading regarding the travel policy for the city, the question was asked at the first reading, would employees be allowed to use their personal credit card to earn points or rewards if they're having to book travel for the city? Currently, that practice is not allowed. However, it is the intent that we will establish policy or procedure, to complement this policy that would allow that practice. So that intent will be to allow the employees to use their personal credit card where feasible and practical to earn points or rewards for city travel. Any comment or question? Okay, we're now ready for the Finance Committee report. Chairperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 09, 2024-25, first reading, An ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to conduct negotiations and to enter agreement for the purchase of easements and/or rights-of-way, or should negotiations fail, to pursue condemnation through use of eminent domain for acquisition of property for a public purpose for Memorial Drive widening project. Both the Finance and the Transportation, Streets, and Garage Committees voted in favor of approval. This is as we have done in the past with our transportation projects and with the widening of the Memorial Road extension area. It's necessary for us to be able to grant them to enter into these negotiations so that they can work to obtain property all along the Memorial Drive extension area. And also one of the big reasons, as we've heard talked about before from the city attorney and the street department, is we also liked having that condemnation in there for the eminent domain, because often they will enter into negotiations with the property owner and come up with a fair price to be able to offer for it, but the mortgage company then stalls the process and it ends up sitting on someone's desk. So this allows it to keep that process moving and allows us to get this transportation project completed.
Any comment or question regarding ordinance 9? Chairperson Streetman.
Thank you, Mayor. Both of these next two ordinances actually are related to the recent hailstorm that we had back in May. Ordinance 10, 20, 24, 25, first reading. An ordinance amending the operating and capital budgets for fiscal year 2025 for governmental funds. Ordinance 106, 2023, 24 for newly identified items. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval. This is to amend the fiscal year 2025 budget for revenue and expenses incurred due to the May 8th hailstorm. Some of these expenses will be covered by our insurance and/or FEMA, but the council will need to approve a new capital project for the museum historic roof. Additionally, repairs and underground utility work needs to be done on First Street in conjunction with the new Performing Arts Center, which will also be a new capital project. And then due to the transit department's newly identified efficiencies, we would like to convert a part-time position in purchasing to full-time and dedicate it to a procurement related to federal grant dollars. Council will need to approve increasing purchases full-time employees from 3 to 4. This results in a decrease in the city's support to transit and increased purchasing budgets for an equal amount. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval.
Comment or question? Chairperson Streetman.
Ordinance 11, 20, 24, 25, first reading. An ordinance amending the operating budgets for fiscal year 2025 for the internal service funds. Ordinance 101-2023-24 for newly identified items. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval on this as well. And again, this is related to the May 8th hailstorm and its damage to 3 city facilities. The self-insurance funds budget needs an increase of $260,000 for insurance deductibles. And also, the fleet manager is recommending a replacement of the mayor's vehicle. This will require an increase to the vehicle replacement funds fiscal year 2025 budget.
Comment or question? Chairperson Streetman.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Gas and Water Committee, Chairperson Holloman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll have a full report next week.
Okay, Neighborhood and Community Services, Chairperson Shekinah, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a full report next week.
All right, thank you. Parks and Recreation Committee, Chairperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll have a full report next week.
All right, thank you. Public Safety, he'll have a full report next week. Transportation, Streets, Garage Committee, Chairperson Smith, you're recognized.
I have a report on September the 5th.
All right, I assume that's next week. All right,
Of course.
of course, all right.
Stuff on the calendar.
All right, here we go. September, here we come. All right, old business. We do have one ordinance that was postponed from the July regular session, ordinance 114-2023-24. First reading, an ordinance to amend the official code, Title II, Alcoholic Beverages, Chapter 2, Intoxicating Liquor, pertaining to Section 2-205, Restrictions on Liquor Stores. Councilperson Smith is the sponsor, and she is recognized for her explanation, and I think she has an amendment. You're recognized.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. The amendment that is being passed before you is, as he said, about the alcohol beverages in Chapter 2. I don't think I need to read all of this. I think what we need to do is, take this home, look at it, read it, but if you look
You'll
in
give
the,
me, I'm sorry, if you'll give me some more of those copies of the amendment to
is
your
there some
right.
more? Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
If you look at the back, you'll see that the change is in the, let's look, on page, let's see, there's no number here. But I worked on this with the attorney, Mr. Bittner. We added some things, and we added also underage possession, sales, and open container for young adults from January 2022 to May the 30th of 2024. We can see that there were some criminal behavior or some charges on some teenagers underage. 163 children were found under the influence of alcohol in 2022. 2023, there was 137. Now, this one for 2024 has not went through all of the months. This is just for 5 months. The statistics is just for 5 months. It's 80 thus far. Underage, I'll say children because they're not adults, were found under the influence of alcohol. And then we look down here where it says, whereas the state of Tennessee amend the definition of alcoholic content by weight. High alcohol content beer having an alcoholic content of more than 8% by weight, and wine having an alcoholic content not to exceed 21% by weight volume. For alcoholic beverage and intoxicating liquor, it is necessary to amend the official code of the city of Clarksville, Tennessee, to comply with the current state law definition. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, that the official city code of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, Title II, Alcohol Beverages, Chapter 2, Intoxicating Liquors, Section 2-205, Restrictions on the Number of Retail Stores, Paragraph 1A, Paragraph A and B, are hereby deleted in their entirety and replaced with the following language. And you look down in the blue, there should be no more than 16 retail liquor stores for the sale of alcohol beverages and intoxicating liquors as defined in Section 2-201 above. The limit on the number of retail liquor stores provided in this section shall not apply to grocery stores selling wine as permitted by state law. Be it further ordained by the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, that the official code of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, Title II, Alcohol Beverages, Chapter 2, Intoxicating Liquors, Section 2-201, definition is hereby amended to comply with the current Tennessee code as follows. And you see Section 2-201 definition, whenever in this chapter, unless the content requires otherwise. Alcohol beverages or beverages shall be defined in the title definition of the Tennessee Code Annotated, Section 57-3-101, and intoxicating liquor and intoxicating drinks shall be defined in the Tennessee Code Annotated, and I don't know why this repeated. I guess, I don't know, Mr. Bittner, should be repeated or should not? It should, okay, the Tennessee Code Annotated 57-2, okay, because it's a different one, 2-101 as amended from time to time. And so what we're doing, you can see here, is trying to, the one I need to look at, the whereas back up, where it says, whereas it is in the best interest of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, to halt the expansion of the number of retail liquor stores permits until such time as the effects of expanding the number of retail liquor stores in the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, can be fully analyzed and considered to create a better resolution. And that's it.
Okay, you've heard the explanation of the amendment. Councilperson McLaughlin on the amendment. You recognize.
To the sponsor, does the last whereas on the second page correspond with the blue section under 2-201? Are those related to each other?
Attorney Bittner.
Thank you, Attorney Bittner. Thank you. And I will reserve all my future comments on this till next Thursday.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comment or question regarding this ordinance and the amendment? All right, thank you. We're now ready for new business discussion item, creation of a do not knock list. Councilperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm bringing this up for discussion. This was an idea that was presented to me by a resident of the city of Clarksville. I had never heard of a do not knock list. They work very similar to like a do not call list or a don't text list. Looks like there are several other cities in Tennessee that have similar ordinances. I've spoken with our city attorney. He seems to think, and I agree, that the peddler ordinance that we already have in our city code is pretty robust and comprehensive, and the creation of a do not knock list could build onto that without much work. I've reached out to the different department heads of the departments that I think would be affected by this. I haven't heard any reason that we couldn't do it. I will tell you that I have reached out to the neighborhoods in Ward 1, and the response that I have gotten to this inquiry far exceeded anything else that I've sought feedback for. This is an issue that is of concern to the people in Ward 1, seeing how all those little tiny boxes on that map. I mean, maybe we're a target-dense environment. Now, in fairness to the two people that had comments that were maybe opposed to a do not knock list, one person suggested that when a solicitor knocks on your door, you just listen to what they have to say, and if you're not interested, politely tell them to leave, and that you're not interested. Your mileage may vary. The other person had a concern that with the transient nature of our citizens, with Fort Campbell being right here, that once somebody was placed on the list, moved out, if that house stays on the list, that might cause the list to become bloated or maybe not reflective of the true desires of the people. Really what I'm coming to you guys for is your thoughts. This is something that I do intend to bring forward to the council, but I'd prefer that when I do, any concerns that you had were addressed so that we weren't trying to amend it a bunch of times. That's all.
All right, Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
To the sponsor. Oh, thank you, Mayor. So I'll be honest with you, I'm not well-versed on the peddlers ordinance, but I mean, common sense, and we know some people don't have it, will not knock on a door that says no soliciting. Is that something that you're thinking would be part of the notification visually for somebody who's on a do not knock list? And would a do not knock list be something that's available digitally for somebody to access from a smartphone or, okay, thank you, a lot of questions.
All right. So the current peddler ordinance, like I said, if you haven't read it, I highly encourage that you do. That's where I learned that these solicitors are supposed to have a permit. And part of that permitting process involves a background check to make sure they're not on certain lists that shouldn't be knocking on random doors. I'm not sure how many people in Clarksville are aware that you can be cited to city court for knocking on the door of somebody who has a no soliciting sign displayed. Personally, I don't think that somebody should have to hang a sign, deface their house, if they consider that a defacement, for the expectation of not being bothered at their house if they don't want to be bothered in their home. As for the availability of the list, I've thought about this, especially as people are constantly being added to the list and falling off of the list. How do we make sure that an up-to-date list is available to the solicitors? And honestly, I see that as an administrative issue. I don't know that necessarily has to be codified. If whatever department is responsible for maintaining the list and providing the list, however they choose to do that, I would like to give them the flexibility to do that, but I would certainly defer to Mr. Bittner's opinion on whether or not that needed to be in the ordinance.
Council, are you finished? Councilperson McLaughlin, are you finished?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Councilperson Streetman, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. My question was really similar to the previous speakers in regard to how that list would work. And I understand we wouldn't be crafting, so to speak, what it would be for the departments that actually had to deal with it. I'm supportive of that. I do think we would need to kind of think how that process would work because, or kind of know a little bit more in advance. I don't know how it works in other communities, but, I have the thought of well, is it just something where anybody can go get it so that you're gonna have quite a bit of contact information available out there for someone to be able to utilize? And that is a concern that I have for anybody that wants to go on that list. Well, now it's easy for them to get, or is it gonna be difficult for somebody to get? And then the person that actually needs it so that they can avoid the door, then again, I think I would just love to know more. And since you've mentioned, because I'd never heard of it before until I saw it on the agenda, but you mentioning that it's in other cities, I will be doing some due diligence and looking into it. And I'd love us to maybe discuss this again to better decide how we want to look at this. And I appreciate your thought in bringing it out. And of course, I do hope it works better than a do not call list because I'm on that and I get lots of calls and texts for everything, but that people buying your house and everything else. But thank you for your work on this and look forward to kind of learning more about this.
Councilperson Zacharias?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. So Mr. Bittner has actually provided me with a couple of copies of some of the ordinances in surrounding cities. So I'm sure it wouldn't be too much effort to forward that on to you as well. This is exactly why I'm bringing this up. That's what wouldn't be too much effort for him. And at the risk of, flooding Mr. Bittner with inquiries from all of you guys, that's why we're doing it now, so that we can ask those questions of Mr. Bittner, not me. And hopefully, through my conversations with him and the city attorney's office, what we bring forward is something that has already been seen and read by everybody here. Thanks.
Councilperson Lovato, you're recognized.
Thank you. I have 3 concerns. One, who is going to enforce this? Our police officers?
You're recognized.
So the chief of police is mentioned in the Peddler's Code as having the authority to enforce the current statute.
Have you chatted with him about this?
I have.
You have? Awesome. What are the proposed penalties for someone if they go against the do not knock list?
So in my discussion with the city court clerk, I think the maximum fine for is $50. But I think there are probably some court costs and stuff associated with that. The peddler's permit, according to ordinance, to current ordinance, I mean, it's $165 and it's only good for a year. And my understanding is not only does a violation of the terms of that permit put that permit at risk, but any associated, summons to city court would likely roughly equal the cost of the permit in the first place.
And this is my last concern is how would this, because honestly, the solicitors that I get are usually children doing a fundraiser or our favorite, the Girl Scouts. Does this, yes, leave the Girl Scouts alone.
Leave their cookies alone.
Same thing.
Would this, and obviously that's a joke, but I live right next to Northeast, and so we get a lot of the high schoolers. Does this affect them at all? Because I'm gonna be mad if police go and interfere with the Girl Scout cookies.
You will be happy to know that fundraising activities and certain nonprofit organizations are exempt in the current ordinance regarding peddling.
Okay, and trick or treating.
You're gonna lock up all the trick or treaters. Where's your permit?
Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
I was just wondering, just in the interim, we have the C-Click fix. If we could put something in there where we educate the community if there's a violation, where and to whom they call, and could they put it in C-Click fix, or would they have to call the police department? Like, what's the process right now as a individual want to question this person knocking my door?
So I do believe that the answers to that are in the peddler ordinance. It's specifically, I think that they're supposed to display an ID tag. Like, you should be able to question or challenge somebody who is soliciting in your neighborhood for their permit. I did speak with the city court clerk who said that he does not ever remember seeing a citation for that. And I do think it's a matter of education. People don't realize that.
So do I call the police?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then I was wondering if you could share the resources to Miss Canfield, perhaps, and then she could share them out for us? The other city ordinances that you were reviewing?
So I got them from Mr. Bittner.
So if
I think
Mr.
it might
Bittner would-
make more sense if they came from him.
Okay, either
just
way,
because
I would
he's
like
the-
to be,
He's the subject.
I would like to see them,
All right,
the other
absolutely.
as well.
Councilperson Marquis, you recognize.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So again, I also don't know anything about this, and I'm just kind of thinking how it would work and just ideas of maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So I still have to go back and look at all that stuff. But just some questions I have currently is, do we know or think we know what department it would fall under for like giving or keeping this list and maintaining it, or who?
So I hear that it's finance. Like I said, I have heard, I can feel Chief
Yeah.
Cockrell like staring at me like, but again, the, the ordinance does, provide that the chief of police is responsible
Yeah.
for enforcing. As far as administering, since the program doesn't exist right now, I think that's all stuff that would have to kind of be fleshed out as we work on putting this on paper.
Okay, and then just an idea, I guess maybe since the concern is also having people's information publicly known, maybe not have that publicly known, but when somebody signs up for the list, they get maybe a sticker or something that's very obvious and where to place it. So that way, if a peddler does come to a home, they see that, and that way their phone number, address, or whatever is not out there for everybody to know also, maybe, something like that. And then, as far as the bloating of the list, I was thinking maybe it's something that just needs to also be purged yearly, and then between a certain time frame, it gets put out, hey, everybody sign up again, and just since peddler or licenses, you said, or permits have to be renewed also yearly, something along those lines maybe. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Thank you.
Again, and I've had similar thoughts, but again, I think the administration should likely fall under the auspice of the department head of the
Okay.
department that is
Yep.
charged with that.
Yeah, my preference would be that we don't assign a department in the ordinance if we bring it forward, because we'd need time to massage it internally to figure out the best way. You feel Chief Crockrell's eyes on you. I'm feeling Kristen Wilcox's eyes on you too. Okay, Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just sitting here kind of thinking it through more, and she kind of touched a little, the previous speaker touched almost that direction. This would apply to those individuals that either do have a peddler license or should have a peddler license, correct? Or peddler's permit.
So, by default, I think it would apply to somebody who didn't have a permit because they're not supposed to be there anyway, whether you're on a list or not. If that makes sense.
That was why I said it would still apply to those that should have it as
Right.
well.
So if you are in the list that I'm envisioning, if you are on this list and somebody knocks on your door and they don't have a permit, they're wrong twice.
Correct.
Right.
That I don't disagree with.
Okay. Maybe I don't understand the question.
But no, I was just saying it would anybody that should or does have the permit. So, and again, I'm not trying to dictate kind of how it would be handled, but I think something to think about would be those that have the peddler license, it could be something that is shared with them because they're the ones with the peddler permit. And it wouldn't have to have a name or anything. It could simply be the address that was on there. I think there are safeguards that could be kind of put in place there for that. And then also it could be something that was shared with them on a regular basis, because if I got the list today and, I think thinking about there needs to be a time frame of when you get added, because I don't want to, I get the list today, somebody gets added tomorrow, and then somebody's door gets knocked on in that, interim before they get the list again. So, sorry, just thinking it through and thinking there, I think there are easily ways this could be done. And like you said, especially with making it in conjunction with that peddler permit, the process that we already have. So, thank you, sorry.
No problem.
Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I have a question for Chief Cockrell.
All right. Chief Crockrell, come on down.
I think all of you have asked some good questions. They've all asked some good questions.
Welcome aboard.
Hello, Chief Corporal. I just have one question. The peddler's policy, it's already being enforced, and how do y'all deal with that? Do you have a lot of calls on a do not knock list, or is it, since this is part of the peddler's policy, how is the process? How is this handled? Have y'all ever had to deal with this?
Yes, ma'am. We get calls for solicitors, and it is at the moment it's not a priority based on other calls for service. So we get there when we get there. Chuck and I are texting right now to collect this data. I think that's probably the first place we should start is see, do we have an issue? I just in my 29 years, it doesn't seem to me that it has been a big issue. We get the calls though. Where someone's soliciting, and when we have a chance, we get there and see if they have a permit. Now, we handle that I guess, the final approval process based on that vendor who applies and lists their number of employees. In fact, Chuck and Tommy do most of that work, but I'm not sure if it's really a problem or not. So we'll take a look and see.
And I have one more
But I am concerned about, I would like to say this, the keeping the list and keeping up with the list, that, it could be a task, especially in this town with so much military and people that come and go.
And also, thank you for that response. What about those who may have a disability that cannot read and they knock on your door? You see, those who have a disability can't read and they just knock on the door and they call the police on them. How do you handle that? Do you just say, well, the man can't read or the woman can't read?
Well, these officers, they use their discretion fabulously, and we're not heavy-handed in situations like that. The officer has discretion to take what's reasonable and respond to that. With regards to the Girl Scout, that would be considered a charity, and I think the Constitution would cover that. I also asked Chuck, would they be able to campaign door to door?
Yeah, there you go.
And he said, yes, you guys could still go door to door as elected officials and campaign.
Even if there's
there might be a lot of people that would like to write that in that you can't.
No soliciting sign.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Good information.
Thank you, Chief. All right, any other comment or question? I respond by not answering the door. That's my do not knock list. And I do, bah humbug. And I do ask people who knock on the door, where's your peddler's permit? And then I show them my business card and they move on down the road.
I was gonna say, man, I have a ring. Most people have a ring. They can just look and see who's at the door now. You don't have to answer the door, and that's true.
So if I knock at your door, you're looking at me, right? Okay, I got it. All right, any other comment or question? You're for closing remarks.
I just want to say I appreciate all of the conversation, the discussion. This isn't exactly what I envisioned when I brought it up here as a discussion item. Please send all your comments to Mr. Bittner. And I look forward to working with him over the next few weeks or months to get something into an ordinance form. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes his report. Okay. We are now ready for public comments. Our city code allows 3 people 5 minutes each. Any member of the public wish to address the council, please come forward, give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Monica Meeks. I currently serve as the chair for the Clarksville, Montgomery County NAACP Criminal Justice Committee. Today, I stand before you to address critical issues affecting our community. I am a graduate of the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy Class 1642. I also have a graduate degree in criminal justice. Firstly, the recent incident involving Sonia Massey deeply troubles us. We also have an issue here of over-policing of Black people as well. I recently reviewed the video footage shared by a Clarksville resident. It became evident that a field training officer failed to de-escalate a situation during what appeared to be a frivolous traffic stop. This incident underscores the urgent need for transparency and accountability in our policing practices. Our NAACP chapter submitted a resolution on policing to City Councilperson Ward 3 in April 2024. However, we seek clarity on the policy for handling such resolutions. Still have not heard back from him, by the way. Transparency and adherence to proper procedures are essential, especially given the impact on our community members. Additionally, I want to highlight the treatment of unhoused individuals in Lincoln homes. Organizations like Women Veterans of America have made positive contributions by adopting a street, H Street to be exact. Yet we hear about troubling incidents. Compassionate solutions are necessary to address this issue. Being unhoused is not a crime. Walking on H Street does not constitute trespassing or the need for a citation. Executive leaders should not harass unhoused individuals. It is not a very good look for someone that grew up in public housing. Painting city benches black and returning with a bar in the middle is a deceptive practice. There are currently 0 operating unhoused shelters in this city. Yet the director of Clarksville Housing Authority receives a $20,000 monthly consulting fee. She told me she would be in this position until January 2025, when I addressed the CHA board last month. We must move toward a more equitable and compassionate city, not just the same good old boy families profiting with 0 trickle down to our disenfranchised citizens. Regarding mail for inmates, I urge exploration of internal handling options. The line item for the City of Clarksville Police is $41 million. Surely someone within the department could sort mail versus sending it out of state. Thank you for your attention and commitment to our city's well-being.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to address the council? Please give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Candace Payne. I am a lifelong resident of Clarksville, Tennessee. I was born at Publix on Madison Street, like many locals refer to. I'm a first-time home buyer as well. I purchased my home November of 2020 during COVID, also at the same time that I was taking care of my mother that was passing. I've renovated this home. I've poured my life and everything I own into this home. This week makes 3 months that my home flooded. In an area of Clarksville that there's no source of water. And yet I'm still sitting, waiting for this body to make some type of changes when it comes to resolving my issue. I didn't hear from the mayor for almost 6 weeks. Let me also add that I am a former city employee. I picked up a part-time job in 2020 to help renovate said house. I have lost everything in that home. It is going to cost over $180,000 to renovate this home and make it livable. Who has $180,000 when they've invested their life into this home? I am waiting, I'm pleading, and I am begging for someone or some individual to make this right. I've found out over the last 3 months that my home shouldn't be standing at all. That's quite insulting to find out when I bought this house and no one told me a thing. I wouldn't have purchased this home had I known that. My interest rate, I want y'all to write this down. It is 0.125%. Not 1, it is 0.125%. My home is almost 2,400 square feet. I have fully renovated it. And again, I have poured everything into it. I have a family member that lives with me. She has lost everything. She has to buy clothes to get through the week most weeks because she has nothing. My mother that passed away, I lost all of her belongings. My mom was a prominent instructor here in the city for over 20 years, cosmetology. We've lost all of her things. And I'm now dealing with a house that's infested with mice because they're coming in through the open spaces in my lower level. The lower level of my home was almost 1,200 square feet. It is completely gutted now. There's not even a bathroom there. Every time I walk out my front door, I have to look down the stairs and see where 3 feet of water invaded my home overnight. Again, it's taken 3 months for me to have the courage to come and talk to you all because I have to live in this dysfunction every day. I work from home, so I'm in it every single day. Everybody on this council has the ability to go home to a safe house. I don't. I'm fighting mice in mine. I've got investors reaching out wanting to purchase my home at an insulting rate. And yet, all I want is for the house to be demolished like it should have been before I purchased it. The house should not be there, according to the street department. So why is it that I was able to purchase said house almost 20 years later? So again, I'm pleading that this body, city attorney, whomever, needs to step up and do something because again, I shouldn't be in this position. I did everything right as a first-time home buyer. I worked with the professionals. I saved up. I bought my interest rate down. And now I'm in a position where I can't even buy another house because I'm stuck here. My life is tied up in this home. And I am forced to live in this home until I get some type of resolution. There is no insurance. The insurance company denied me within 4 minutes of our phone call. My house flooded May 26th and 27th when we had the historic floods. I couldn't get anybody to come out and even put street signs down. Again, I'm a former employee and every paycheck that I made from that job, it's now at the landfill with the rest of my house, along with all of my mother's belongings. So I'm here again for the first time, and this is not the last time that y'all will see me. I'll be here every month as long as I'm having to live in this home. So I appreciate everyone's time and I thank you.
No, this is not question and answer. This is comment. Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to address the council? Okay, we're now ready for mayor and council member comments. Any member, Councilperson Smith, you recognized?
Yes, Mayor, I want to say something to this young lady. I know I can't ask her no question. I'm sorry to hear about the disappointing life that you're living because of the flood in your neighborhood. I didn't know anything about it. The first heard of it. I don't know what your address is. Oh, okay. And I don't know what ward you live in. But I'm just saying, I am sorry to hear this. I pray that we do something to try to help you. I don't know if it's, what the situation is. I don't know, I know you said it was flooded, but I'm so sorry to hear this. And I pray that we as a people do something to help you in that area. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. All right. I will say that the street department has been working diligently on a presentation to the council, and we'll be bringing that to you sometime in the month of September to talk about drainage issues across our city, as well as they've been working diligently on addressing two particular areas that you've already heard from and heard about regarding drainage in those areas. So stand by for additional information. Okay, we're now ready for Councilperson Holman for comments. You're recognized.
Yes, so, sorry guys, I got another presentation. I got to do it. And so, y'all can leave. That's why, just wait for council comments. It's probably gonna be between 10 and 20 minutes. If you want to go ahead and leave, go right ahead. I hope y'all have a good night. But first off, I do have a First Amendment right, and I will defend that. And these are council comments. We do talk about personal stuff. Everybody does. And this is personal to me because if we as a civilization, I'm talking about Clarksville, I'm talking about Tennessee, I'm talking about the United States, if we as a civilization cannot protect our children, then we have no civilization. That's what it boils down to. So we're just gonna get into it. We had some people that disagreed with my stances, so I just figured I'd just do a little digging. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous here. And just talk about a little bit more of the facts. And so we're just going to go through and let's see here. Maybe.
Mr. Hollis, if you don't mind.
All righty. I did have to do some reformatting with the file, so some stuff might be a little jumbled up. If that's the case, then I apologize. But we're just gonna do so here's what we're gonna talk about today. We're going to talk about the communist Marxist agenda and the destruction of the American family. We're going to go over a quick recap, talk about the destruction of the American family. Got some stats for you. We're going to talk about the. This is council comments.
Point of order is in order. Councilperson Reynolds, what's your point of order?
Mayor, point of order is, I understand that we can raise issues, but ethically, we should only be able to raise issues that are going to be part of an agenda item. If we wanted to.
This is council comments.
Hang on, let her finish her point, and I'll come back to you for a remark.
If we're going to attack members of our community, it should be fact-based, it should be with an information, and if we are going to continue to allow these attacks on people and family members, people that we go to church with, people that we see in the store, they need to be with information, and they need to be cited. In the past, and even up here, there's no citations. There's only hate speech without any really research and documentation of where this information is coming from. I would like to know, ethically speaking, why do we continue? This will be the 4th time, and there's no, well, we call it an agenda item. We're not going to vote on anything. If the speaker wanted to do something legislatively, we actually have the legislative agenda. We could say something that we want the state to, double down on their hate speech and double down on all the terrible laws that they're passing that are unconstitutional. But just to continue here and attack women and LGBTQ, and now we're going to talk about declining birth rates. I mean, what's next? Are we going to have like a list of black jobs? We're going to have a list of white women jobs? I mean, this is ridiculous. Why are we allowing this? How is this ethical?
Well, it doesn't violate the city ethics code, first of all, and secondly, he has a First Amendment right to say it. As much as I disagree with it, he has, just like you have the right to say what you want to, as long as it doesn't incite violence.
Mayor, is this not, and I'm going to get real personal here. I am the mother of an active duty son in the Navy. I have a son that leaves the country. I have literally had to call my son and tell my son in the Navy to go to his chain of command because I'm standing up against hate and that he could be a target. This is inciting violence. This is inciting things that are going to make our community unsafe. This hate speech is making members of our community feel unsafe, and we should not be tolerating this. I don't know why we continue to do this. If you wanted to do this, it belongs in whatever He-Man, woman hater, KKK meeting. That's where this belongs. Not on the floor, inciting violence and really just hate speech at our community. I don't know why we're doing this. I don't understand. What is the point other than hate?
Okay, hang on a second. She asked a point of order. We've discussed a point of order. He is within his rights to say what he would like as long as it meets, it doesn't violate any law. Whether it violates someone's sensitivities and truly creates a hostile environment is strictly up to him, but he has the right to do it.
Yeah.
And again, I don't agree with it, but he's got the right to say it. And so let's continue on with your presentation. And if council members and the public would like to leave, you are welcome to do so.
And I'd like to address the comments made. The reason I'm doing this ultimately is because like a lot of people in our society, in the LGBT community, they're highly addicted to like this really addictive pornography. It brainwashes them, and kids are getting addicted to it. And this is all over the internet. We
Hang on. And
I've had it.
Whoa, hang on.
I've had it.
All right.
Request for verification of that information.
I can get on YouTube right now and show it to you.
We're not, hang on. We're not going back and forth. Let's do comments and get on with it, please.
I'm going to go ahead and continue my presentation.
You're recognized.
And so, okay, so we're just going to do a quick recap. We talked about investment companies like BlackRock and Vanguard. They pretty much own everything. They can put work the different agendas with governments, and they can implement forced social change. And that's what we're seeing right now. Example would be DEI officers, which are really just propaganda officers. We explored that. The LGBTQ Marxist activist group is trying to indoctrinate, sexualize, drug, and mutilate your children. These are real legal examples.
Hang on.
I'm giving you examples. You got a phone. Look it up.
Let him finish, and then I'll recognize you, and you can pick it apart word by word.
Yeah, just Google it.
No, hang on. Continue on with your
so
presentation.
we've got some bills up there that anyone can Google if they are concerned about this. We talked about society being sick. That's myself included, and we all need to wake up and repent. And I still think that. We're going to talk about Karl Marx. He's the founder of communism. He wrote the Communist Manifesto, which is basically like the Bible of the communists. He did some other theatrical works that are just not very good. But the quote up there is it's from the Communist Manifesto. I believe it's from chapter 2. And it's abolition of the family, but you say we want to destroy the most hallowed of relations when we replace home education by social. So what that means is they want to remove the element of the parent in order to get to the child. That way they can indoctrinate them. This is in the Communist Manifesto. Sorry, Mayor. So why destroy the family unit? It makes people easier to control. You can dissolve the culture because you don't have that same culture being reinforced from two different elements. It leaves children vulnerable due to not having a support system, and it makes people susceptible to groupthink. So there's no family outside influences, so people are more susceptible to, if they get accepted into just a social group, fraternity, activist group, whatever, they're more likely to agree just for the sake of social repercussions, so to speak. The destruction is slow and generational. There's one theory that talked about it from the 1960s. In the university systems, they slowly try to make the university systems more and more liberal. That's one of the theories. I'm not saying that I agree. I'm just stating one of the theories. The first process they started doing when they're breaking up the families, they really focused on the Black American families, and they succeeded, and they're succeeding all around our society right now. And it's everyone else's turn now. And you got to think, you get the father who's the protector, and then the mother who's the nurturer, and remove one of the elements, and it really throws a wrench in things. Only 30% of families have two parents in the household, so that just leaves 62% of single parents in the household, and that's what they want. They don't want the parents to be able to watch the child. Why would they like that? Because it's easier to manipulate children, whether it's on the schools or the internet. We talked about examples of rainbows being just like the communist agenda, and the rainbows being in video games and children's books and all kinds of stuff. They can teach them with gender identity and sexualization. If the child, because they teach these sexualization and gender identity, if the child gets addicted to cross-dressing, becomes transgender, that creates lifelong medical patients. And so they've got to take hormones for the rest of their life. It's really good money. It's a good investment, I guess, if you invest in medical companies, but it's lifelong medical patients. A lot of times the hormones, they have negative side effects. And so what they have to do is they have to take other drugs to counter the negative side effects. So more drugs means more profit. So it's an endless cycle. Typically, trans people that are on puberty blockers and hormones and all this other stuff, they don't age as well. So then you've got the cosmetic surgeries and all that other stuff. So it's a cash cow. And they take a drug just to be a false version of themselves. Let me get my place here.
Yeah, keep finding your head.
And so I'm gonna show a stat, and I just feel like everybody needs to know, because if a child says that they're having these thoughts, just know what you're getting into. It's The trans community, this is the UCLA School of Law, July 20th. They released it on July 20th, 2023. And they said there's about a 42% chance of transgender adults attempting suicide, and 56 have engaged in non-suicidal self-harm. And so I'm going to put the camera back on me. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. And so I know that's really, really hard. And, you know, to people out there in that community, like just don't be a part of the community. You know, like you can be homosexual and be in our in our society. Just don't be a part of the LGBT. It's not a route that you want to go down. You know, and if you've done damage to yourself, it's not too late. Like we all suffer from addictions. Like I mean, I can completely relate with what's going on. But we've got to come together, and we've got to own our problems, and we've got to improve ourselves. We've got to become better versions of ourselves, and that includes myself as well, as a person who struggles with a lot of stuff. But we're going to go back to the presentation now. Appreciate it. Thank you. So if you mix all the information I've given you. With the decline in fertility rates, so fertility rates have been dropping from 2014 to 2020 consistently. It's about 2% every year, and so fertility rates are dropping. People are having less children, and so you look at all the stances of the leftist, communist, Marxists. We're almost done, Mayor. So they're for pro-abortion, pretty much at any stage. That adds zero population. The LGBTQ community, that's zero population. Brainwashing and sterilizing children, zero population. And there's the overpopulation agenda. Don't have kids, save the planet, is what they say. But that adds zero population as well. So a lot of people are like, well, we've got a decline in population. Does the Marxists do they have a solution for it? And they do. It's by replacing all of us with illegal immigrants, and it's happening right now. You can do your own research. That's all I'd like to ask is just everyone to do their own research. We're almost done, but we don't know how many are in the country. Some of the estimations are around 10 million illegal people. That's a lot of people. Other estimations are around 35 million. That is a ton of people. That's just dwarfs the United States Army. It dwarfs. That's like 35 million. That's like 5 times the size of Tennessee, I think. Just to put it in perspective, but we don't know who they are or where they came from. And so we look at it and we're like, you know, society's got these problems. We got all these issues, and you know, like, why don't you go? And this is to Clarksville, and this is part of my journey as well. And I'm asking you to come along with me on the journey, and that's let's just go church shop and just pick a church, and especially like if you're a single mom or single parent, you know, take your child and just go around to different churches and see what you can fit. That's an Orthodox church. I'm not really exactly sure. That's not in Clarksville, but it takes slow steps forward to make progress, and sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But that's pretty much going to conclude this presentation. I'd like to give all glory to God. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and that will conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
That was the most ungodly, unchristian presentation I've had to sit through yet. I'd like to pick a few pieces apart, as the mayor said. I'd like to talk about our job as elected officials are to take care of all members of our community without being partial. We are supposed to separation of church and state. It doesn't matter who you pray to. It doesn't matter who you love. It doesn't matter what color of skin you are, and it doesn't matter how much money you have. When you come as a resident, it is our job to represent you with equity and equality. This is unethical. This is wrong because this is saying that a portion of our community does not deserve to be treated the same as the rest of them. He talked about, and I talked about being unsafe. This is making a segment of our population very unsafe. We're sitting up here painting targets on the backs of members of our community. And if you think that's not true, then I will tell you, you are not paying attention. I am the mother of a gay son who will never come back to Tennessee, and the mother of 2 brown sons who will never come back to Tennessee because of this kind of behavior. And this silence is compliance, and this type of behavior at every level in our state, because we continue to do this. And we talked about family and family values. I want you to know that I have real family values. I have unconditional love for my sons. I was a single mom, and we were a family unit. However you think they should define, that is not your place to define my true family values. You can have yours, and I can have mine. And the fertility rates are dropping because people in Tennessee need representatives like us to pay attention to affordability and attainable housing, and building safe roads, safe routes for them to get back and forth, providing jobs that pay a decent living, not just the lowest that a corporation can come in and pay. We are here to support families, not attack them. And when you talk about the suicide rate among the LGBTQ community, it is exactly this kind of speech, hate speech, that causes them to not want to be the way God made them, and to think that they're wrong. And so if I grew up with a sister, I served in the military, and I raised a son, I know they hid from themselves, and they hid from people like those that speak out loud like this and then continue to tolerate it. If we want to, every life matters, and if we care about suicide and homicide, we will change and stop this hate speech and just accept people the way God made them, and do the best we can for every citizen in our community. So I think that's all I got.
Any other comment or question? Seeing none, we are adjourned until next week. See you at the Planning Commission next Thursday at 6 p.m.